All right. Well, fellow anti-netters and friends, here we have Stacy, and she is you're pretty new to the anti-net world, right?
I'm
Yeah,
brand spanking new.
yeah. And I guess it was the fates aligned, and we were able to hop on and get this one-on-one coaching sesh going, and it's really good that you've I can already tell that you're like really you've
Oh,
you've jumped in all the way with both feet, so I'm
I
excited.
did.
Yeah.
For sure,
Well,
I did. Yeah. Well, it's funny because it feels like I jumped in, but I'm like, I did read a book and watch all 20 of your videos first.
yes.
So,
Okay. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. um yeah, and like as I've been doing those videos, are kind of like interspersed and kind of like all over the place. They're on a whim. Eventually I intend to like create a course or something. Right
yeah.
now I'm just focused on getting the book done. It's like a brain dump of everything that I've learned and everything I'm still learning and stuff like that. And so yeah, you have a lot of but I think the videos, yeah, a lot of people have finding a ton of value in it. So thanks for diving in. And I'm sorry for all it's probably like a spaghetti code of a bunch of different ideas all over the place. But as you watch more and more of them, everything starts to piece together, I'm sure.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. And part of what I appreciate too is that, I could understand kind of you get all excited and you're like
Yeah.
this and this and this and this. And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah,
That's how I am. So I'm
exactly.
like, all right, I'm not crazy. I'm normal.
Yeah. We're if we're passionate about something, it's we are we're beyond normal. We're awesome. So yeah. Well, yeah, why don't you give me a little bit a glimpse of background on and I reviewed your the intake form and stuff and your goals. Like it sounds like you're already on your way with your own anti-net Zettelkasten. And but yeah, why don't you tell me your the goals, the background, and then basically you sent
Yeah,
me an
sure.
email just a little bit ago saying like you wrote down on some cards,
I did.
in preparation for this. Yeah. So why don't you take it away?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just a little bit OCD. I call it, I used to be a professional organizer and I just call it functional OCD. I was a therapist for 20 years and now I do other things, but I've been studying, my whole life and reading prolifically. When I was a little girl, I used to go and just get stacks of books. And so I share the sentiment with everyone around, oh my gosh, if I would have come across this or had this when I was, 20. So I'm
Mhm.
really excited because I still have teenage daughters at home and one that wants to be a doctor. So I was talking to her today about sharing this with her so that she has it kind of from the get-go. She'll be turning 18 this summer. So I'm super excited to be able to already pass this on. But I literally came across this in March. I've been waiting for probably about 3 years or so, just marinating in some ideas around some pretty deep dive projects that I want to do. One is, like Lane, I've journaled since I was 6 years old. And so I understand the value of writing things down and how meaningful that is. And I've had a pretty interesting, kind of crazy life. And so I have this desire to write a memoir. So that's part of why I want this.
All right.
Um,
I love it.
and then also, I'm actually here in Mexico for a month and I'm studying hermetics. I'm here for
Hmm.
some advanced training.
I did a Wikipedia on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks
um,
really interesting.
Yeah, and so, and then I'm going to the teacher training. So I plan to involve that, and my desire with that is to create eventually kind of a wiki of sorts, an encyclopedia of sorts. There's a lot of terminology, and the teacher has thousands upon thousands of videos, and there's just nothing out there that really collaborates his videos and the concepts, and then all of my concepts and learning. And so those are
On
my two.
hermetics.
Yeah, on hermetics.
Yeah.
And there's so many overlapping, I've studied alternative medicine, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, all kinds of healing techniques, quantum physics for 20 years now. And so, for me, already have kind of this foundation, and it's like I have this internal Zettelkasten just waiting. It's
I know.
literally popping out onto
It's
cards right now.
crazy how it all kind of like all the different fields all relate
Yeah,
together with your own
they
take on it,
do,
like quantum
absolutely.
physics. And I guess,
Yeah.
and yeah, hermetics is kind of like a religion slash philosophy slash ancient philosophy. Is that how it is, or understand it?
Yeah, I kind of call it the science of spirituality. I think they would
Nice.
cringe if they heard you say religion, because it's definitely
Oh
kind of
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
step away from that.
Anti-religion. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But it's more like that alchemy and transformation and really understanding how to use your energy. And Mark is the teacher is, but very, very practical based and experiential based. So it's like, hey, go experience it. If you can't get it or don't do it, then don't believe in it. It's up to you. So it's not really, it's very grounded. And it just kind of fit well with the culmination of, for me, kind of my life's work. And in addition to that, I plan to, as I said, write some memoirs. I've got kind of courses in the making around journaling and mindfulness and mind body connection, um, and sexuality. I mean, I have a podcast that I do on, it's on YouTube, that called Epic Romp, and it's to me that has many connotations, right? It's not just all about sex, but having an epic romp with life, with these books
Hmm.
and these note cards and whatever the things are that you enjoy. And so I've my my fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah.
And so having a system that I can spill out all of this, I'm 50, and this just lifetime worth of wisdom. I've had 8 children. My oldest is 32. I had one for someone else. I had that many.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just overflowing. It's like I knew that there was something out there that could help answer how to get this all out of my head in a way that
Yeah.
is organized and makes sense, but I didn't
Hmm.
know what it was, but I kept believing it was there. And I stumbled across Zettelkasten, and I was like, what? And I
Yeah.
went through the whole, I looked at Obsidian and Rome and kind of all of that. And when I found your stuff, it just really resonated with me, partly because I absolutely understand the value of writing things down.
Hmm.
And even, I'll share a little bit later a quote that I took from one of your videos that just really hit home, like right to the heart about that and about why.
Hmm.
So yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah. It's funny. I've said this before in other videos. It's like when I I did the Obsidian route and stuff like that, right? And then once the in Sankey Arons's book, How to Take Smart Notes, there's a lot of bad in it and there's a lot of good in it. Or okay, it's mixed. It's really good in that it there's a lot of good in it too. And the good in it is that it introduced me to actually just trying out the analog form of the Zettelkasten in the first place. And maybe your experience was like mine. Like it was within a day or two. Like it might have been the first day when I started creating it and like branching down, the tree structures and numbering my notes. I'm like, oh, this is exactly how it's supposed to work. Like this is how it's supposed to feel and write. And I'm like, I understand the power. Like I've created like 1,000, I think a little over 1,000 notes in Obsidian. And I was just like, I have no idea or no confidence that what I'm actually writing or doing is actually going to ever be useful. It's just like creating a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's good to have you aboard and in the magic of the analog world. And it's like you already know the power of writing by hand, and I think that's like also what stamps it into my mind of
Yeah.
making it just the best medium for this thing.
Well,
So
and what was really, really, really awesome that has me just so excited, that I think is going to partly be the power of our session for people today, is that as I was preparing for this call and putting together, what do I have, what do I need help with, and I was sitting with some of my notes, there was so much that came out of it. And so we're going to get to see some of that as we go through what I've done and what I need help with. And
yes.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It had me in tears. I was like, I couldn't even
Hell
believe
yeah.
in a 4 hour, session, even just reviewing, I was like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. um do you think that's the place to start with on do you want to go through some of that, or like the outline cards of what you
yeah,
created, or
sure. I mean, what I can start with is, and I'll just kind of maybe show you what I have and kind of where I'm at, and then we can ease
yes, let's
into.
do that. Let's do that.
Um, so it's crazy, but this is how committed. I mean, I took 2 70-pound suitcases to Mexico so that I could bring a box.
Hell yeah. Yep. Yep.
So,
You're like, I've
um,
I've done that too. Oh, and I moved
yeah.
yeah, to the Virgin Islands. This was like back in 2014, and I had like
Uh,
two big boxes of note cards
your
back
cars.
then. And they weren't even in Antinet form yet. I didn't have them numbered,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah.
but yeah.
So at home, I would have three separate boxes, but I've combined it at least for that purpose. But so this is my,
Yes,
my
for traveling.
my Bibli,
Bib,
whatever,
I call them bib box.
my bib
Yeah.
box
Yeah.
right here. So I have two books that I'm currently have with me, which was how to take smart notes. I read
Nice.
this and I did my usual. I didn't start doing any notes on this. I did my usual like writing in the margins and
Yes.
underlining and all
Yep.
that stuff. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going back through that. And then I have another book that we'll reference later. So those would be in there. And then here's what's fun is my all of my and I'll start with some of my questions as I talk about this stuff. So these are all of my bib cards
Hell
already
yeah.
that are
Okay.
just on your
So
videos.
yep. So you saw my transition, like, and there's kind of like two strategies, reading strategies. There's the straight book to extract, where you're going straight book to excerpt note or reflection note or observation note, right? And then there's the bib card method, which that's really the method that I've been doing for the past like 2 or 3 months, like exclusively. So it's good. You saw the transition to the bib
I
card,
did.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I did. And so in each of these books, I actually, because I'm still going through them, I have my bib card created
Nice.
and
Yep.
then I'm started, on the back. So that way I'm actively doing it. And then what you see here is, which is kind of one of my questions that I had for you is that, so I have my bib card and then because I was reading frantically, I just stuck in sticky notes in places where I knew I was going to go back and make either an excerpt or a main note.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered if how you, I know that with your kind of reading workflow that you mentioned, you tend to do it, you've got your hour time frame and then you transition that. But I read at stoplights. And so I'm reading on the go
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time, and so it's not always practical for me. So I
Oh,
was
to
wondering, like,
actually create the main note, you're saying right then and there.
at
Yeah.
that moment, yeah, or
Yeah.
even after my little reading session. And so I wondered, like, do you mark it, on your bib note back here to say, I know I want to make the main note from there, or do you mark it in the book? What do you do?
Um, so it kind of broke out a little bit. That are you saying? Do I mark it? Do I mark on the bib card what I'm going to write about, or do I write it mark in the book? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like either one. Do you somehow make a note that you want to come back to that for a main note, or do you just trust the process that when you review your
Oh,
bib card, you'll know what the main notes are?
I see. You're saying, do I explicitly say? So I need to turn off Siri here. Whenever I say certain things, like I think when I say like
Yeah,
C or she like turns on. Yeah. So what
like
what
with a
you're what you're
dot.
saying is, do I do like M for main note, like, or
Yeah,
am I
yeah.
going to put like a reformulation or reflection?
Mhm.
Um, honestly, I don't, because I can usually tell if I'm actually going to develop or create something into a full main note by the nature of what I write down on the bib card. Like if it's an interesting thought when I go back through it, and it's like something, I don't know, something a little bit like one or maybe 1.5 lines or 2 lines, where I'm like, oh, this is actually a compelling thing that would be useful for actually putting into my book or my work or my current project. Then I can just tell from the bib card that I should put it into a main note. Um, and look, I've gone through a bunch of different evolutions of this thing. Like about a year ago, I was kind of doing what you're doing, and doing they're called marginalia, where like writing in the book or on the side of the book. And then I would create my own conventions. I'd put like M for main note, or V for vocab, and then like E for excerpt and stuff like that. I've stopped doing that, and I just go straight bib card. I keep it simple as fast as possible. And I can also tell, because there's certain, I think, in my last video, or maybe you've seen it, where I'll underline certain key terms, right? And Like the bib card will just be like, it'll say, page 229, and then hard work underlined, right? And that just signals to me that I'm not going to actually develop that into a full main note or a full excerpt, reformulation, reflection. It just says, because I'm not necessarily working on all of the areas that I'm interested in at the current time. Like right now I'm in like the working on the Antinet stuff and really focusing on that book. However, like I know, just I'm fascinated with kind of a bunch of other stuff like you. Like I'm fascinated with philosophy. I'm fascinated with um, copywriting and marketing and mass persuasion still. That's kind of my first career in craft. It's like, oh, I may want to write a book on that eventually, right? So if I come across material in my current research that I'm like, oh, that's cool for that, I'll just underline, create a key term, underline it, and then I'll I won't create a full elaboration note on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of iterated from, here I was again writing all the notes and stuff in the book. And then, the next one, I just went right to the bib card. And then now I just marked the areas where I knew. But I hear you saying like once in those notes on the bib card, it'll be kind of self-explanatory that I want to go back and make a main card.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting is like, you're reading how to take smart notes right now, right? And it doesn't sound like you want to write a book about creating notes, though.
Right.
Though maybe but you have said you like to maybe write about journaling though at some point.
Yeah,
Right?
and there is, so what's interesting when we get to it, in my main notes for this book, in one of them, it actually, there's one sentence that relates to all these other things that have nothing to do with right, taking smart notes. And so that's the part that's exciting, that I see value in, in books just everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
They,
so,
I
go
would
ahead.
say real quick is like, so because you're not creating a book on note taking, right? Um,
Mhm.
you probably, with that book, How to Take Smart Notes, you want to err on the side of like, creating a lot of maybe even more robust like literature notes on the bib card, and
Okay.
don't feel obligated or necessary. It's not your highest priority to turn all of those notes or even like many of
Mhm.
them into main cards, because that's not your highest priority. You have a bunch of other projects that are competing that sound like a higher priority, and that's a good thing too, because I think you don't want to get bogged down, is how Lubin called it. Like you don't want to get bogged down by reading and taking notes, which is what a lot of people
Right.
do as well. That's what I've been trying to work on with my workflow is and then that's what really the bib card has helped me, and that's why I've gone stuck straight with that lately, is because it actually helps prevent me from getting bogged down. And so
Mhm.
a lot of you don't necessarily feel the need to create a lot of main notes at all from that book, how to take smart notes, but have all of your notes. That writing things down and creating them on the actual bib card is actually how we can understand stuff and memorize stuff and stamp it into our head too, because of the power
Mhm.
of writing by hand. So don't skimp out on that, but just write them down on the bib card.
Yeah, well, and I think that speaks to kind of what I've done. So the rest of these are like your videos. So one of the things that was interesting about this one was, this was one of the first ones. Like I just need to take enough notes to know how to do the Zettelkasten. Like that's it, and then draw
Yeah.
anything that's related to any of my other projects out of there, which there happen to be some. But for
Mm-hmm.
instance, on this one video, this is your one, I believe Nick was his name, that, I took a bunch of notes because I was learning how to do it. What is a
Yeah.
Zettelkasten? How do you do
Mm-hmm.
numbering? And I'm just going to stick those, behind the bib card, because I want to be able to go back to them, but they certainly couldn't fit on just on the back. But
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
not main notes for me either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I figured that was okay.
Yeah,
And
no,
then,
that's totally fine. I also,
okay.
uh, and even if you did it the other way, even if you put it into the main box, like a Zettelkasten
Mhm.
section, in your main box, that's
Yeah.
that's not the end of the world either. It's that's fine.
Okay.
Um, that'll be helpful, especially if you decide to actually write a book on note taking and productivity one day,
Right.
um, but but yeah, but the only problem with doing that is it does take a little bit more time and planning, and numbering. You create like numbering and branches, which adds overhead. Whereas if you just put it in the bib box, like behind that certain video and section, you're done. You can just, where it is. You can review it if you want to, and
Yeah,
yeah,
because all the rest of them I've been able to fit onto one card. And
yeah.
so, I have timestamps on the back, with the notes,
Hmm.
and then the front. And so I'm up to,
Yeah.
been documented, 15 of them. So,
Wow.
um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think I clarified too in a recent video, it was a myth that Lumen always only did it on one card. You can branch onto multiple cards as well, of course,
yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad because I'm not, I mean, I'm interested in doing it, having that aspect of being true to the faith, so to speak. But at the same time, I'm
Yeah.
going to do what works. And,
Yes. Yeah. Same here.
it's,
Like I've added my own wrinkle to it. Everyone needs to add their own wrinkles to the system. Like, you know,
yeah,
don't, uh, don't feel obligated to follow. I don't feel obligated to follow Lumen as if, it's the Catholic Church or something. And,
yeah.
you know, and you shouldn't, feel obligated to follow mine to a T too. You'll add your own personalizations.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I love about it. And I also want to say that I really admire that you reiterate that so often for those, like me who I'm a bit OCD,
Hmm.
just being okay with it being imperfect and watching other people go, yeah, I just scratch it out and move on. And, you know,
Yeah.
um, I find that really challenging. And so it's very inspiring to me to just continually hear that message, like it's okay and it's going
To
to
evolve
change and
it.
it's going to work. And yeah.
Yeah.
So the next easiest one to cover is, what is this? This is the index, right?
Hmm.
So it's alphabetical and every one I've got, so the only ones I have in here are the main academic disciplines and then one card for all of the other, for all the letters
Okay.
are in
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like you have A, B, C, D, like it goes like that basically, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's a card, with the letter on each of them in here, and then each of the academic disciplines are in here listed as well. And then I
Eh,
know this will grow exponentially.
yeah. You did every single one of the academic disciplines, or just the 1,000 to 5,000?
Yeah,
Yeah,
1,000 to
cool.
5,000, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about this too, so one of the things I did add was a 6,000 branch for my life and I'm gonna go back through a lifetime worth of journals and pull excerpts from the journals, pull reflections from those, and then pull connections. So that'll be kind of its own category. And then 7,000 for hermetics because it's so
So big.
extensive.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine. I
yeah. So
I originally had when I was first creating mine, had 6,000. This was for like maybe a few days, maybe a week, because I was in the same way. I was like, okay, I want to put all of my stuff. Like I called it the my branch, like, um, and then what I did was I was like, you know what, maybe I just put it instead in the 5,000 category because it's like applied arts and sciences, but it doesn't matter. You can do either one, like, because the 6,000 or 7,000, all that stuff is perfect. That's fine and works. Like you're gonna have more than enough space and room,
yeah.
in all of those.
Well, and the reason I guess for me that I separated it out is because I do have physical journals, just like a book that I would pick up
Oh
and
wow.
read.
Yeah.
I have piles and piles and boxes of them. And so to me, it just validates like, okay, this is a book I'm going to go read and actually pull from and kind of, marinate in that's valid, that's its own creation in and of itself. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, so that's why I kind of separated it out. Now these are, what are they called? Oh, okay, these are my main note, and I don't have additional dividers yet, but so these are my main note dividers.
Nice. Yeah.
And this was part of what I did today was just spending some time on the academic disciplines and familiarizing myself with them. And I created a key, just as I've kind of started already looking at key terms that come up all the time, things that I just study or am interested in. And that's one of the things that as we get to some indexing later, I don't know where it all fits into, under
Hmm.
which one of these. And then I found some of them that and I do have some questions in here that I already have, that I know that I have books and content and cards that are coming under some of these categories.
Hmm.
So I went ahead and made those. But I have not numbered all of them. And that's the part where numbering is like on my top thing to numbering, indexing, and the categories of disciplines.
Yeah.
So,
Cool. And
yeah,
and first things first is, and said this, and I think you know this, but I always, and I it's funny because I got the same feedback on Reddit, is is reinforcing that the academic disciplines, it's not like the Dewey Decimal System or anything where there's a perfect category for it, right? There's like a where every
okay,
like a lot of it is arbitrary. Think of them as like fuzzy categories where it's like like when you zoom in the microscope on anything, even clear lines, you get that fuzziness, right? And then and it's kind of like, think of it as an area or a starting point from which it can branch into any direction. Anyways, that's just a vague abstract disclaimer to all of it, is
well, yeah, I already had to work through that, because I was all excited because I was like, oh, they could be in alphabetical order, and then I was like, oh, this is going to end real quick.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'll move through that. Like, it's not going to be, it's really just, yeah, how to just kind of separate them. But yeah, the numbering is a little overwhelming.
yeah,
But that'll be
yeah.
part of what we do tonight.
Yeah, why don't we start there? Is that the most important thing you want to achieve and
Yeah,
address? Okay,
yep. And
let's start
so
there.
what I figured, and it's funny, I have a list of, just watching your videos and all the people, I have a list of books, to
Oh,
buy
I
my
know.
Amazon.
It's amazing. Like I had to cut myself off like, 2 or 3 months ago and just start writing the book because I have like so many books that I still want to read. And then like now in
Uh,
doing these, I'm getting more and more. I'm like, oh God, like the one Deli recommended in the last video, I have it on my desk, The Trees of Knowledge, I think it's
Yep.
called. But yeah,
Like
I'm
the
like,
branches, I have that too.
yes, yes, yes.
It's
That one is
awesome. I
like
love the
mind blowing.
visual. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Um,
beautiful.
I
Yeah.
know.
Well, what I can do is start with Aaron's book, Sanke's book, and so some of the cards, that extract cards and reflection cards that I did, and then we can figure out how to number and install them. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
um,
Yes, so this is for from how to take smart notes, and you want
it
to
is.
install them in your main box, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I want to share that, so what's going to happen is, this is the beauty of what happened today, because all I had today was the excerpt. And so I looked at that excerpt note because I was just, sitting with it. And so the quote from his book is, "Distractions do not come so much from our environment, but our own minds." And for
Mm,
me, that immediately went to answering the question, why is training in concentration, focus, or mindfulness relevant or even necessary? Because distraction originates in our mind.
hmm.
So that was my first reflection note, or
Yeah,
what would you
that's a
call this?
reflection. I would call that a
Okay,
reflection note. Yeah.
okay.
I know
And then,
the lines get kind of blurry too between reflection, reformulation a little bit,
okay.
but I'll call that a reflection note. You're applying it to your own take.
Right. So, and then from there, so coming from being a professional organizer and having worked with people who have, messes and hoarding and disorganization, then I went to, well, just, and I've always come from the standpoint that disorganization originates in the mind. It's not caused by external circumstances.
Mm,
And I can go back, I just did a little brief thing here just for, today's purposes. But, I could write a whole thing around, the emotional component of disorganization. And then that led me to the Hermetic principle of as above, so below. which is that your outside world reflects your internal world. And so as you get that more organized and taken care of and purged, your external world will naturally begin to reflect that. So this is what came out of me just sitting down and looking at this note as I was, preparing for today. But where to stick these, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think where to stick those, so there's two states that we kind of go in and out of in using like the Antinet in this system. Okay. And it's not phases. Like you don't go from one phase to the other, and then you're like, oh, I'm complete. It's not like how the Maslow's hierarchy of needs is presented, where it's like, oh, I want to get to self-actualization at the top and stay there. I just have to do all these phases first. It's not like that. These two things are states. Like you're either one state or the other, and you kind of constantly move between them. And those two states is growth and contribution. So a lot of people want to use, and I do too, is like when I first started out, I wanted to use the Antinet for growth. I wanted to grow my own mind. The second phase is the contribution phase, or not phase, but state. And that is the state of you actually want to use the work, and use your knowledge to contribute and to create something. Like, and you have a bunch of different ideas for contribution, right? And so where I see this, because as far as there's a few themes in these notes. There's the I would say mindfulness, and I guess that's one theme, but that's kind of like within growth. That's within, hey, if I want to find something on mindfulness, then I want to create a section about mindfulness, and a key term entry for mindfulness to like kind of point me there. However, where I also see this card fitting in, or these series of cards, I would call these like I kind of call them like streams of thought or thought stems. You have like four cards there, that are all associated and interlinked together in some capacity. Where I could see that sequence going, and where it kind of has gone is, I think you've related it more to like it's more of in the contribution state of where you can contribute this line of thought to the hermetics, right? And your work in the hermetic space. Is that correct? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's more of the 30,000-foot view is where that's a foundational principle, and then you begin to see how that looks in life, whether it's just organization or it's training in mindfulness or, talking about note taking.
Yeah.
That's how it shows up.
Yeah. So the choice is, the decision is, at what we're trying to figure out is where to actually file it. Right. Now, do you want to, and the question is, do you want to put it in hermetics or, as a part of your applied, like, would you be working on a course in hermetics or a book, or what kind of output would you be
I will
creating?
be. Yes, on both. I'm doing teacher training here in a couple of weeks and doing one of the advanced courses before that now. So, and I would say that I probably wouldn't put this necessarily in the hermetics branch, because that's probably going to be a lot more specific to each of the principles, defining them, how those relate within each other. And then, I mean, this could reference that once I get to writing the card in hermetics about the law as above, so below. But to me, this is
Yes,
more
exactly. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
mind-body connection, those types of
So
things. So, yeah.
yeah, in hermetics, like what you're saying is you could be like, this follows the principle as outlined in the mindfulness, and yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. God damn it, Siri, stop coming on. Yeah, so the first, I think that the excerpt and your take on it sounds like, that's probably, and where I have the same exact thing. I have a mindfulness, key term and category in mind. It sounds like the plan would be, let's create a mindfulness category, and then let's also create a section in hermetics, like even just one card that that introduces the principle that you want to talk about in hermetics, and then we can link to the mindfulness category, the specific card.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, when I hear all that, I'm like, how do I
Yeah.
do that?
Okay. 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 Yeah. Because have you developed a robust or any like numbered categories in the main box yet?
No, this is
Yes,
my
I know.
very first time.
Yep. I just got done writing the section today about like the how to get started guide, and and I started purposefully not with bib cards or any of that, because that's the fun stuff, the easy stuff. The scary stuff happens when you actually commit and create your first main note and main cards, because you're like, ah, crap, am I gonna screw it up? And like, now I'm married to this weird structure forever. All right.
Yeah,
So okay, first things
feel my
first.
pain.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was yeah, I remember it. I was I was in everyone's shoes, the same thing. And then
Yeah.
yeah, then before you know it, it's just like before you know it, you end up with like that. And you're like, it doesn't
Right.
matter. Yeah. It's all chaos. I don't even care. It doesn't
We'll do an
matter.
update and like, I know you've got like multicolored cards, different sizes, and I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, okay. So the first thing we need to figure out is did I get what was the first two cards again? Was it the first one was an excerpt by RNs, right? Can you read
RNs.
that to me?
Yep. Distractions do not come so much from our environment, but from our own minds.
Okay. And then let me hear your reflection note on that again.
Why is training in concentration, focus, and mindfulness relevant, important, and even necessary? Distraction originates in our mind.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got two themes kind of here, two key terms, The one is mindfulness and the other is distraction, right?
Yeah.
So what I think what makes sense to me, and look, this is your Antinet, this is your flavor of a thing,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you what I did in mine. I have a mindfulness branch, and it is in the applied arts and sciences branch.
Okay.
um we can go to and I just go to, I'm looking it up right now, like, or
Do you
let me
mean
look it
like
up.
arts and humanities or applied
Well,
sciences?
I think I put mine in the applied arts and sciences, which is the 5,000 branch.
Okay.
Um, is there even a mindfulness? Oh, there's like a philosophy of mind. I remember that. Uh, so it doesn't really matter too much, but I nerd out on the academic disciplines because
Mhm.
it enables me to, like, I'm like, man, this is so robust. So
Yeah.
let me see what would be a good.
Well, it is, and then yet I have all these terms that there's nothing in there on them. They don't even have a category that I know how, and we might just go through some of those so you can offer me some suggestions.
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing that's alternative in there, other than if I just lumped them all under metaphysics.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can certainly do that. It's I where I would maybe put this, I'm looking at this now, like I put mine in like mine's like 5 4. Mine's in, I'm like looking it up on the screen. Mine's in like 5482 or something like that, like my mindfulness category, just because the name of the game is once you start creating these branches, the name of the game is then to install the
Yep.
branches and new branches near the most similar branch, right? So it gets easier as you go along. In the beginning, it's really hard because you have nothing, it's barren. Um, where I think this would go, just looking up, I like the academic disciplines just as like idea generators. In the arts and humanities,
Yeah.
there's the philosophy and theology
Mhm.
areas. And
Okay.
do you have a branch there for philosophy or theology yet?
I do. So I have my first card, arts and humanities, and then I have a theology.
Okay. Have you numbered theology yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, let's do this. Let's do for theology.
Mhm.
This is what mine is. Put 1700 in the
Okay.
top right corner for theology. See, that's how we decide. We just decide.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Okay. And then create another card and call it, and we're going to create the philosophy branch.
Okay.
And
And I'm
make this
totally willing to create new cards and throw away cards. So
cool. Yeah.
I'm willing to
Um,
coach.
I'm showing you my way. Like this is literally my branch is I have 1700 for theology and 1600 for philosophy. And so do philosophy and do put 1600 there.
Okay. Got it.
And then where I think we should put this in mindfulness, I think it should be like a branch within philosophy, more than theology, because theology relates to religion and you know. So let's create a new branch and call it mindfulness. And
this is different from it being a key term?
yes, well, it's both.
Okay.
And then put this one as 1620. Make the address 1620.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what we're going to do, let's create key terms for them as well.
Okay.
So the first one is theology. So go to the T. I call them list index cards, because it's just like a list of key terms. And I don't know if you see my video on my index, but I have the I call them key term index cards, where there's actual an index card just based on a key term, you know.
Yes.
But this is just a list index card.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Is that T?
Yes.
Okay. And then write down theology. And then colon.
And then
1700.
Right?
Yep. We're building this thing out.
Yep.
All right. And then go to P for philosophy.
Yeah. Okay.
And do the same thing.
That was 1600. Now, how come you put little apostrophes around them? I noticed that. And I wondered why.
Yeah, I like how it kind of contains it, you know, so I know it's like you know, I originally put it in like square brackets, but then I just couldn't draw square brackets like straight at all. It just looked horrible.
Okay.
And then I don't know, like I think it's the computer programmer in me that like wants to wrap it around in like a convention, you know.
And then I went to the M and I created mindfulness at 1620, correct?
Yes, perfect. Okay.
Got it.
Now for the very first for that very first excerpt card, which is the Sankei Arens quote, pull that out.
Okay, got it.
All right. Now we're gonna number this one 1620/1. Hell yeah. There you go.
Okay.
And he talks about distraction in that one, right?
Yeah. So I can underline that, right?
Yeah, underline that key term.
And then put it on the D card.
Yep, we're gonna put distraction. You see how we're kind of like, it's like creating a map to your already, you know, like the tree structure is its own map essentially, you know, like mindfulness, you can just go down, and then the index creates like a secondary map onto the map of your tree, you know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So then I put distraction and then 1620/1.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah, you got it. It was not 1620, but 1620/1. Exactly.
Because it's referring to this particular, and then there's going to be another one once I name or number my card.
Yep. Yeah. So your card, you're gonna number. I think you already know what you're gonna number.
Okay.
It's gonna be
1620/1 slash. I don't know. This is where I get slash.
I know.
No, 1620/1A or /1/1. This is where I get confused.
Okay. Yeah. This is, and it's I had to learn by doing it like the wrong way for like 3 months, and then until I've kind of figured it out, right?
White out.
So it's the what you want to do is 1620/1/1.
Yeah, okay, so it's the
And
first idea. It's my first idea based on this card.
yes, and yeah, you're branching down based on that card.
Okay,
Now, I'll so write that down and we'll put that in. That way you don't
okay,
and you don't have to create an index entry for this one, because
okay,
this kind
so,
of follows under distraction.
okay, because that's what I was gonna ask was that, so I underlined distraction in it and I
Mhm.
underlined mindfulness, but I don't need to enter that because it's already under the
Nope.
this branch.
Exactly.
So when I
Exactly.
find it, I'll find these.
Yep.
Okay,
Exactly.
got it.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you this other key piece of info is, and this is how I think of it. You see how I use the term branching down, and it could be
Mhm,
called stemming down and branching, I don't know, whatever. Right. But you're branching down and you're going more into you're going deeper into the idea of what Arens's excerpt was.
mhm.
So that's why we're going down. Now, if you wanted to create, if there was like a card and you wanted to create a variation of it, like a genetic
Okay.
variant, of it, like an alternate version of it, that's when I like to use the A characters, or
Okay,
alphabetical characters. So
that's
if it
helpful.
even if it was like um even if you come across later in your readings like a contradictory quote, someone that says some like, for instance, like Jordan Peterson, like one of his rules in one of his books is clean your room. You cannot have a clear mind until you clean your room, which almost is a contradictory quote of what
Mhm,
Arendt says, right? So for that one, what I would do is I would create 1620/1A, and then be
mhm.
like, oh, the alternate, the variant idea of this is a counterexample is what Jordan Peterson says, which is like the exact opposite. And
Mhm.
so that actually creates, like, when you're going through this, you know distraction, whenever you look up distraction, this is like even 15 years from now, you could see those two contradictory things and use it in your content and make use of it. So anyways, yeah, basically
Okay.
that's when to use A, B, C, is to create variants of the ideas. And that's a general rule, right? You can be loosey goosey with it as well and evolve it, and you'll get your own flavor, your own conventions. But that's how I like to think of it. Yeah.
Okay. So then, all right, so this next one along this line is disorganization originates in our mind. It is not caused by external circumstances. So that would be a 1620/1/2.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
I will get the hang of this. Okay, perfect. And I don't need, there isn't, I mean, unless I want to underline disorganization at some point. I mean, maybe that would end up being a key term for organizing and stuff. I'll go ahead and
Oh,
do
does
that.
that say disorganization? Yeah, in it. Yeah, you can create a key term uh for that if you want in your index.
Yeah, I was gonna, that's what I was gonna say. So for that one, because it's different, I would go ahead and do that here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's under D, disorganization, and then 1620/1/2. Okay,
Yep.
all right,
You're
got it.
building it out.
Now, this next one, which is the as above, so below.
Exactly.
Now, that just becomes number 3, or does it go
No,
somewhere else?
it's because this one specifically, I think you said it relates to hermetics, right?
Uh-huh, yep,
Okay. So this one we're gonna put in hermetics. And
okay,
on this card, I want you to put like under that idea, I want you to put um okay, so let's think about how we're gonna phrase this. I call them see also card links. These things I call them
okay,
see also card links. So it's a
yep,
card link, and you're gonna say see also and then the card link. So you're gonna be like, um, this principle relates to uh distraction, see also, and then 1620/1.
okay. I was wondering about those. I've
See
seen them
also,
on your cards. Yeah, so that was
yeah,
one of the questions that I had. So good. Okay. And then this will, okay, then how is this
now,
one numbered?
yes, exactly. So where's your hermetics branch? That's
So it's,
7,000. Okay,
yep.
cool.
And
So
so this would be, so a subcategory is hermetic law.
okay,
I would consider
perfect.
this like hermetic law.
Yeah. And how big do you think
So,
hermetic law is going to be?
um, not huge. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, there's probably 20 considered universal laws, 7 that are standard. So yeah, not big.
Yeah. So I think for the hermetic laws category, you might want to create it on like, 7,020 or something, and or
Mhm.
instead of creating it, a branch of being like 7,100,
Mhm.
um, because I don't think you're going to have 100 sub branches
Right,
yeah. And even if you created 7,100, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have 100 sub branches under that, right? You
right.
because you could just place it near it. But yeah, what I would do is I would just create like, 7,020. These are arbitrary, random. You can choose,
Yeah,
and I kind of choose them. I space them out just to give me space and room for it to grow. Um,
yeah.
and another thing is because I'm getting my 5,000 branch is getting pretty congested. There's like
Mhm.
I'll have like a 5,222, 5,223, and then I'll be
Oh,
like, damn, I want to put something in between. You can also always do. I haven't done this yet, but like 5,222 A. So,
mhm.
anyways, yeah. Uh, but yeah. Let's
Okay.
create
So
7,020.
/1,
Perfect.
right?
Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah,
Okay,
you're
and
on it.
then
You on it. All right.
and then I'm gonna go to my H card where I
Yes.
have Hermetics 7,000 and I'm gonna put Hermetic Law 7020, right?
Yep.
Okay, 7020. Okay. And then I
Yeah.
don't need to put this card on a reference. No, because
Yeah.
that'll turn to this. Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay.
one thing to keep in mind. You know how you just created hermetic law,
Yeah.
in that index entry?
Hmm.
Because you're like Antinet, your main box is so small right now, that's not really a big that's not really a like you don't want to wear yourself out. I call it index fatigue, and you don't want to get index fatigue. You don't want to index everything. And in the beginning, it's
Okay.
so easy to get index fatigue, right? Because
Okay.
you have nothing in there. So you're going to want to like start creating key terms for everything, right?
Yeah.
Um, Now it's fine that you do it. It's like it's not it's only gonna I mean it's yeah, it's fine to do it, but you also because you have hermetics, if you ever want to look up hermetic law, you're going to know to go to the hermetics 7,000 branch and just start
Start
shuffling
going through.
around your cards. And when you go through your cards, and shuffle around and start finding stuff, A, it's fun. And then B, you kind of remember a bunch of the stuff that you previously kind of maybe have forgotten about. So you're like refreshing on all of the information. And
Mhm.
then yeah, you'll be able to find it anyways, and then also the most important thing is the reason why this system is awesome is because it is chaos, but it's like kind of structured chaos, so you're going to uncover accidents in the process too of like, oh wait, oh, I can probably combine disorganization with this, but that's not a good example because it links to it anyways, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was also just thinking, like, once when I'm starting to do this deep dive, as I go into my study materials and I start looking at Hermetic law, then I can create like a whole bunch of cards together and then do it all at once instead of, oh, I studied, one at a time, which I'm guessing would help a little bit.
Hmm.
Yay. Okay. So I have my first, I have
Did it.
my first installation in like, is my wee little
Yeah,
Antinet.
no, it's gonna blow up. I bet like in a week it's gonna be like, yeah, it'll
Oh,
grow.
good.
Yeah.
Um, all right, and I want to ask, let's see, indexes. Okay. I do have a question around, and before we hop into another one that we can do, is remind me, so I see that you do these little like footnotes. So when a book has a quote of someone else within the book, so for instance, Aaron's quotes Lumen, I never force myself to do anything. I don't feel like whenever I'm stuck, I do something else. And for me, that's references, especially in coaching, I deal a lot with people who are stuck. It references flow from that guy with that really long name. But this is Lumen's quote inside Aaron's book. And I know that you put a little number and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and so can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I call them external references or um,
Okay.
e- XREFs, EXREFs, external references. They're basically, especially in like academia, whenever you quote someone, you want to find out
Yeah,
what the source is, right?
the original,
Um,
right.
yeah, the original source. Now, there's uh, there's a reference manager is essentially what you have created. You've created an analog reference manager, and that's what the bibliography is, right?
Mhm.
Um, the digital reference managers are things like Zotero. And have you seen
Yep.
that? Okay, yeah.
I
So
downloaded it. I just have to, I'll do some YouTubing on how to work it.
yeah,
So, yeah.
and then the key for me is I really mainly use it for what is it called, like online articles, because they have a button like a Chrome extension, where you can just click
Mhm.
a link and then it'll add it to your
Nice.
reference manager so that you
Yeah,
can cite it, right? um
yeah.
now now that's like the basically the example or what we can walk through is, do you have that note actually written out, that
Mhm.
of that excerpt?
Yes, so
Okay, can you show me
I
it?
have the quote, and then the way that I first just did it now is I put Lumen here, it's in quotations, and then I have RN's 2017 and the page number at the bottom.
Okay, and then is that the RN's 2017? That's, yeah, that basically, because you have the bib card of RN's, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay, yeah, that's all you need. You did it fine and perfect.
Oh, so then what do
Yeah.
you use those little numbers for? Are they,
Sorry, I didn't see the, yeah, I put that, that's almost like a footnote. You know how when you see footnotes and endnotes, with like those little
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
things, that's so that if I have multiple quotes, on a page
yep,
from different passages, I can tell, where it came from, or to see an idea. So actually, um let me, but because that card that you just showed me only had one excerpt and one idea, it's not really needed, like I do
okay,
cards like that, what you're talking about. um
uh-huh,
uh though I'm kind of like, because it's like kind of confuses people, I'm kind of like, I'm thinking of just going straight to just using the footnotes, the like little ones, so I don't
mhm,
do both. um so yeah, it's optional basically.
okay,
I like to do it if I have multiple ideas. I like to, you know and then it's also useful for if I have like a C also, if on
mhm,
that quote I had like a certain key term, if on that quote, imagine it said like distraction, I would underline distraction and then put in I usually put in green like 1 or 2, and
mhm,
I would say see also, 1620/1.
mm, okay,
Yeah.
just to
So
reference a different,
yeah, yeah, I basically answered you in a confusing
a
way.
roundabout.
Yeah, yeah. But what you did is just fine, because that tells you where all you care about is, you just want to be able to see where this quote and page number actually came from.
Yeah, yeah. Like I want to know like where I read it from, but I want the original source of who actually said it.
Yeah.
So do you want to do these? And I don't know if these probably are pretty quick. These are 4 excerpt notes from How to Take Smart Notes. Um, we could probably run through those. How are we on time? Oh, we're good.
We're good. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Okay,
we're
good.
good on time.
Because I
Yeah.
have more questions. So we
Yeah.
can either set these aside or we can go ahead and do these. So what do you think?
Yeah, let's do a few of those.
Okay.
Let's do two and then see how we're
Okay.
doing. Because I want to get to the other ones as well. I think you had some other stuff as well. But yeah, let's do two of these.
Okay, so I'll do the two that are related, so that I never force myself to do anything I don't feel like. Whenever I'm stuck, I do something else, which is Lumen's quote, which I also feel like is related to the flow quote that's also in the book. And so we
That's
could
right.
do these two and see how they relate with each other.
Yeah. And are you saying the second one that you have relates to that first one?
Well, it says a good structure enables flow, the state in which you get so completely immersed in your work that you lose track of time and can just keep on going as the work becomes effortless. And that's just kind of that flow concept,
Yeah.
which Lumen is alluding to his practice of flow, that he
Mm-hmm.
just, as soon as he hits a block, he just turns and, keeps moving like a river or water might.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know that they're directly related.
Yeah, the first one is kind of like, yeah, you're right. It's like they're related, but they're different, right? Like the first one is
Mhm.
kind of like
Yeah.
work on things asynchronously, like work on things, um,
Mhm.
and then yeah, the second one is deals with more of the deliberate focused state, right? And getting into a zone of flow, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And one thing about that second card is that it does also relate to a hermetic state that I want
mhm,
to associate it with.
yeah, okay. I think
So,
so. So both of these relate to, I would call, like something like we need to think of the branch of where to put these. So I would
yeah.
think of the branch as like working. I would call it like maybe philosophy of work or work philosophy, right? Or something.
Okay.
What kind of ideas do you have for like a branch for what both of them could be under?
Um, well, because what term came to my mind was productivity,
Yeah.
which it's kind of that and not. But yeah, I like the work philosophy concept because it's just, how to think about working,
Yeah.
as opposed to specific techniques.
Or
Um,
productivity philosophy.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that they
Or
either speak about like getting a lot of stuff done, but
yeah, yeah,
um, and also
yeah,
like stuck. Lumen specifically mentions stuck, and a lot of people get stuck on that word. Oh, I'm
yeah.
stuck. It's like no.
So where I
um,
think uh I think it would be good to put this one in like a branch within applied arts and sciences.
okay.
And I would put it in I'm
Like
gonna
under
put,
business.
yeah, that's what it's kind of, yeah, relating to. Like yeah, in mine I believe business is 5100 or 5200. So
Mm-hmm.
why don't we just create business at 5100? So let's create a business
Okay.
branch 5100.
Yep. So I have a business card.
Okay, cool.
As on my. Okay. So got that,
Okay.
and then it would be because I kind of brainstormed some ideas based on that, like that I know that I've done reading on, like business analysis, entrepreneurship, leadership, management, and
Mm-hmm.
operations are all
Mm-hmm.
things that I've actively studied and taken courses and stuff in. So those will be cards.
Yep.
Um,
Those will be like
which
50, 5110, 5120, 5130,
yeah.
those types of cards. Yeah,
Yay, that's what I was
exactly.
doing today.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yeah, that's how mine looks too.
All
Yeah.
right.
Um,
Okay.
and
Um,
okay, so out of that list, you've actually done a good job. You've actually kind of pre-planned that list. Let's take a look at that list that you just showed me of what you have planned for the, yeah, so let me see
okay.
that. So nice. Oh wow, you're
I mean,
into
I could
some
make
very
it
interesting stuff.
5160.
Yeah, yeah. What like the name of the game is like try to stick it closest to the branch that it is most similar to. But yeah,
Okay,
5160 I think seems fine because
would
it's
just,
yeah,
and it would be business philosophy, right?
or work philosophy or business philosophy.
Oh, right, work,
I would
work,
say yeah, work philosophy.
yeah. Okay, so 5160. Now, I want to go to my B card, right? And put that in there.
Um, do you have business already in your index?
No.
Okay, yeah, create that in there.
All right, so I do business 5100 and then I add in work philosophy under the W, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that's 5160. By the way, it looks like you're staying in a nice house there in Mexico.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's kind of a compound. So this is the main house where the owner lives, and then there's two casitas, one at the front and one at the back. And
Oh,
I'm
nice.
actually staying in the little casita in the back, but she let me come and meet in here so that I could have better internet.
Yeah, nice.
So, okay, good. So we've got 5100, work philosophy. Whoops, that's my, that's weird. Sorry, my T's in the wrong place. Okay, and then, all right, so then basically this is just 5160/1 and /2.
Let me think. Yes, exactly. Because they're both they're related, but they're not the same idea.
Okay. And this is where, like, just when I have some time, I could go back and I'll, decide to reflect on them or expand them or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think honestly, like you'll probably not reflect on them or create those notes unless you actually decide to develop a creative output, creative work, involving them.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I
that's
have
a great
cards.
reminder.
Yeah, like I have cards today that like I literally I have the same exact types of notes, for my excerpt notes when I was reading how to take smart notes. And this would that was like 6 or 7 months before I actually decided to write a book on the Antinet, right? And then from there they emerged and created like a whole ton of reflections. I have like ton of reflections behind just that one note, and so it's pretty cool. Like you don't have to actually create any reflections or develop that at all because you're going to have your hands filled with all of the other
Yeah.
the other project that you decide to focus on. Yeah,
Yeah, unless it becomes relevant to that in some way, which
exactly.
actually, oh, so speaking of that, let's actually go there for a minute. So the one card around,
That's right.
yeah, so the one card, and this is where I guess this is a point, just like what you're saying, is that it is relevant to the Hermetics. So the point in this quote from that really long name person,
Yeah,
um,
the flow guy.
yeah, that guy. The part where he says lose track of time. So
Hmm.
that's a Hermetic principle that's related to the astral field. So how do I connect those two concepts?
Yeah. So what kind of is that, like a principle within hermetics? It's not like
Yes,
hermetic law, right?
correct. It's a principle.
Okay. Okay. So what we should do is create a sub branch within hermetics called principles of hermetics,
Okay.
or hermetic principles.
Okay. So um, all right. So then it would be, and so this Hermetic law, so Hermetic principles is going to have a ton more
Yes.
than Hermetic law is going
So,
to. So this could be 7100.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. That's what I was gonna say.
All right. So that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. You get it. You know the system. I'm just giving you the the confidence to just freaking go do it and put it in practice.
Yeah. All right. And so then I will find my, wherever it went, I don't know where it went, my H card and put hermetic principles with that number behind it. So got that. So then
You lost the H index card
it's only
already.
been an hour. It's here somewhere.
Yeah, you'll find it. It'll turn up.
I'm like, did that ever happen to you? Or
Oh yeah, I've had it happen. I'm like, oh, well, never finding that again. Like, but surprisingly, it doesn't happen as often as you would think. I have these little things. I'll show you this. These are like, you've probably seen this in my videos. My favorite color is green, so I have like green everything around my office. But I just use these. These are just blank placeholders. So if I like take stuff out, I'll you can probably see it in here too. Like I take things out of the box, I'll put
Yeah,
these there
that's
as
a
like
great idea.
placeholders so that I'm like, oh crap, I still need to find something to put in here, otherwise I'll just like lose it. So
Yeah. Okay, so then this is kind of like our other, all right, so walk me through. I know this is going to be a card that goes into into the hermetics, and then this needs to be referenced somehow to that.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
what
that's
does
right.
that
Okay.
look like?
So what is this principle of hermetics called?
So it's gosh, for right now, I would just call it the astral field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would create a card, in the top, or and under, and call it like the astrofield principle of hermetics, and then underline that.
Okay.
And then I would explain or define, I'm sure it's online or something, but the or you could probably just do it right now in your own words and evolve it later. But
Yeah.
I would write a little summary of what the astrofield principle of hermetics is.
Like, so one of the qualities of the astral field is that you lose track of time.
Hmm.
Time, there's no time on the astral field. So
Yeah.
their time is irrelevant.
Are there
So,
other qualities too?
um, yeah, there are.
Okay. Create a
So it'll
bullet
have its
point.
own.
Create like 3
What?
bullet points of and define like the properties. One of the properties
Okay.
is the losing track of time.
Mhm. Um, okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so
And then
yep, go ahead.
did you list the other property as well? Like the
Yeah.
okay.
So it's also thick and heavy, and it's where emotions are held.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you an example of using that footnote, ideas, the footnote thing that I
Okay.
use. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So next to what does the first bullet point say?
Lose time.
Okay. So next to lose time in a different color penning, I use green, as you can see, for my see also links. We're going to create a see also
Okay.
link. Okay.
Okay.
So put like a little footnote, like a little number 1,
Uh-huh.
next to that.
Okay.
And then at the footer of the card, put 1 period, and then write see also.
Okay.
And then we're going to reference that the flow guy card.
5160/2.
Yep, exactly. Boom. That is how we've linked it. You see
And
that?
so I don't have to, like, because I know that information already, I don't have to link his card to it
No. So
because I see it and I go, oh, I already know that's astral.
yeah, and then also
Okay.
let me just see the card. I think it would be cool for other people to see too.
This
It's like
one?
so we could yeah. Yes, exactly. That's what you just created. Yep. Astrofield principle of hermetics, lose time. Yep.
And then the
Yep.
number up here is going to be
What would this
70,
be?
hold on, Hermetic Principles is
7100.
7100/1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, the question is this: how much do you think how many how robust do you think this principle will be? Because you have another option of creating it as 71, 01 or 7110.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
but this doesn't seem like it's going to be, that massive. And even if it is, it's like it's still fine to just create it at 7100/1,
Mm. Because what would be the defining concept? Because hermetic principles, so it's the first principle that I'm documenting under that, which is
Hmm.
7100. Because
Yeah.
you're saying that the more
Are
I expand,
yeah, well, how I would do it, I don't think like if there's like groups of principles, you can get creative with it, but I think we may be overthinking it right now. Like that's the one of the issues. Like it's like you know,
yeah, and there kind of are. I mean, so that one falls within kind of a 4 or 5 little clump. So there's the vital, which is the physical, the astral, which is the emotional, mental, akashic, and non-dual light. So it's kind of
okay.
5 things that are, commonly lumped together.
Hmm. Okay. So it's like one of like 5 or so big principles, big ideas. You're
Yeah,
saying?
well, within that little subcategory, I did this card just to kind of brainstorm the principle, pretty foundational principles that don't include the laws.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's fine for now. Then if you want to create a bigger, broader category for it, all you
Mm-hmm.
would do is on that card, you would say, oh, for the bigger, broader category, see 7120 or something like that. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, but I doubt you'll even need to do that, honestly. It's like yeah, I've, I've, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, this entire freaking box here is just one branch, and then I have like one of those boxes will contain like, you know, 50 branches, it just because it branches, it grows internally.
Right.
All right. We were just on to the question of, you're like, do I link from that flow guys card,
Mm-hmm.
to that hermetic principle,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you would call a backlink or a backwards link. And no, you don't need to do
Okay.
that. Those links are overrated. They just end up wasting time. That's what like Obsidian and all the digital, I call them like digital workflow warriors. All of like the digital tools will show you, like when you're looking at a file and when you're looking at a note, you'll be like, oh, here's what other things link to it. And that's just a waste of time. In human memory, it's like going forward, and the forward links is actually the useful stuff. So
Okay.
do not create a backlink. Do not be like, oh, this hermetics law talks about it as well. That's just not, and I've found it too, it's not useful. So
Yeah, well, and like
yeah.
like we said, like my brain already creates that link
Exactly.
because
You
I'm
you know that.
familiar. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I pulled my A index card to put in the astral field principle of hermetics and then 7100/1.
Yep. Oh yeah, on the A card, on the A index entry or
Yeah.
whatever. A,
Yep. Okay, so then this just gets filed and then this one gets filed 5116/2. Okay, awesome. Yay.
you see how
It's
it's building?
happening.
It's pretty
It's
crazy.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Uh,
I have, let's see, I'm gonna just look at what some of my questions are. This is cards from the other book that I'm reading.
okay.
And,
Yeah. So we're getting into the other questions and stuff, right?
yep,
Okay. Cool.
yeah, and so one of the questions that I had was, and I'll just use some of the examples that I had instead of looking at the cards, is like, for instance, in humanities. So I study photography.
Mm-hmm.
Photography falls under humanities, but there's all of these, like, so humanities, then visual arts, then fine arts, then graphic arts, and you'd have 5 jillion
Yeah.
cards. So
Branches, above that,
yeah.
you're saying? Yeah.
So I
Don't
just
worry
was
about that.
thinking, okay, so go humanities, and it's a visual art and photography.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I've done as well. Yeah, because you don't want to use them as kind of like a general, it's like, it's almost like, because if you didn't, you can create like just I don't know, like just a massive structure. This helps you kind of like lay stuff out. Yeah,
Yeah, well, and I'm not necessarily gonna have content behind some of those other categories, like
exactly.
ever. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so then if I did, then I can just stick it in there and it'll go under humanities, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. Um, so I think we answered this one. So you had this, one of the quotes about, from Francis Bacon in one of your videos, some books are to be tasted. So I did that. Okay. I just put Francis Bacon and then the original, your video reference to that. So that'll get installed wherever it goes. I'm going
Yeah.
to trust myself to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, if you want, I can like give you a little uh uh idea of
Yes.
where we would put that one.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So what I
Sure.
so that's on yeah, that's kind of like pertains to reading, I guess, right? Like he's
Mhm.
saying like some books yeah, you could just read through once. Some books you have to ruminate on, cogitate on, and stuff like that,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
I would put that in a reading branch. Um, my reading branch is in the humanities section. I think
Okay, which
I think
is
because
under
I
like language and literature, creative writing.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so I wrote out like language and literature, creative writing, fiction, creative writing, nonfiction, and poetry are ones that I already have because those are pretty active.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I put mine in the literature, and you see how they combined languages and literature and like the academic disciplines. I broke them
mhm.
apart. It's like
Okay,
this is your thing, like rough guide, and I just use the academic disciplines as kind of like a you know
guide. Yeah,
yeah, guide. Yeah. So for this, do you have the literature branch, or
yeah.
you
So I
created a
just
card
marked
for
it
it?
out and I'm going to leave it
Nice,
like that
nice. Okay.
to
Um,
honor being imperfect.
yes, perfect. Yeah, it's perfect being imperfect.
Yeah.
All right. Um, I would put that as, I'll just tell you what I put mine at. Mine's
Hmm.
1300 for
Okay.
literature.
All right. And then this will just be 13 slash, no, there'll be a subcategory, right? Reading.
Yeah, yeah, mine's at like I think 13, yeah, 1320. So let's just create 1320 for reading.
Okay.
And it's like I think I did that around 1320 because I first created writing, so I was like, where do I put reading? I'm like,
Mm,
oh, I'll put it near writing. So that's a hint for like, when you get to a section on writing,
yeah,
put it
so
there.
can I go ahead and number those then? Because I do have cards on writing,
Yeah.
creative writing, fiction and nonfiction. So I could do,
I'd say
if
creative
I,
writing, you put maybe like 1310. Or I mean writing, you would be like 1310.
and then these would break it down
Hmm.
further, right?
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, I don't, unless, do you have cards and material yet on fiction writing and creative writing?
Well, not today, but I will
Yeah.
soon, because that's part of, I have a
Okay.
huge stack of books around how to write memoirs and that type of book.
Okay.
It'll kind of be next step.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Then it's worthwhile to create them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you said 1310 for writing, and
Hmm.
then I have creative writing, fiction, and nonfiction. Do I need to break it down that much, or?
Um, yeah, you have a few options. You can either put creative writing in like 13, 12 or 1315, you
Okay,
know,
yeah,
it that's it sounds like, I guess you have it just that you do want to create some content around that, so you might as well do that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well, and journaling, advocating journaling and actually doing a course on, why to journal and how to journal and all of the, when you get blocked and all that
mhm,
stuff. So,
yeah.
um, okay, so then I would
And
just do pick numbers like 13, 15,
Yep.
13, 17 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And say, for instance, you run out and you're like, oh crap, now I want to like, and it gets to like, you run out and you're like, oh crap, the worst case scenario, it's like you create like a branch at like 1356, and then you just say, oh,
Also.
see also, yeah, or you probably won't even need to. You could just go to your index and it'll reference you to 1356, and it'll be
Right.
just something that like my structure is so weird. Like I have like writing, and then in between that I have like a bunch of these indexes on like Latin terms and Greek terms and stuff like that, and like some vocab, and then it skips over a huge chunk and then goes to like reading or something, and I just know that's just how my
That's just
system
how it's
works,
laid out. Right.
yeah.
Okay. So then this is 1320/1. And
Yep.
then, and later I can go back and I'll put these into the index then. Because I feel pretty
Yeah,
comfortable
just don't get
going.
index fatigue. Don't need to
Yeah,
put all of
right.
them in, just put like writing in there, and then you can worry about the other stuff later. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just wait and put it in. Okay, so then that goes in front of my philosophy. Yeah,
Yep.
because philosophy was at 1600.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
awesome.
'cause it's within the humanities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so then let me just check if I have any other, the only, like the last piece of the card, which I was, I'd referenced you earlier around, and maybe we can just make this our last one, because I think that answers most of my questions, is walking through this. I don't see any additional ones, but when you had that quote the other day in your video with Lane of, so coming from being a journaler, and I know Lane was a journaler too, when you're sifting through your notes in your own handwriting, it captures your own consciousness in a way that cannot be captured in digital forms. And
Mm-hmm.
it's an internal dialogue too. That voice in those notes, that mind of yours that's locked in its best form in the notes, is having a conversation with you, and you're having a conversation with it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I wanted to share, just to bring some meaning to you personally and the work that you're doing, I see this being a quote that I use in a journaling course or a book or whatever. And it answers my question of why journal and why review journals. And what came up for me today was two things: that I can connect with that little girl or that young woman or that young adult me
Mm-hmm.
and pull the wisdom from her and having that dialogue. And then the next thing that I get to do as, the 50-year-old woman that I am now, is to offer her encouragement, to heal her, to say, hey, look at who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
that's what that inner dialogue, when you're talking about that. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't it crazy? It's not like, it's not inner monologue,
right.
It's not just your own voice in your head, that's how most of us walk around this world. We have the inner monologue where we're just like, oh shit, like, have these thoughts, right? When you
Mhm.
review your actual old notes in your own writing, your own handwriting, like I look at mine, I've got mine from like 2006, and stuff. And I see and experience and talk with and visualize myself in 2006 of where I was, like where I was living,
Mhm.
and like the crappy place I was living in, like this, you know, beat up apartment next to a train, which is like where I was when I wrote those notes. And like I come across those notes all the time, they're like, and you can tell, right? And yeah, that's like captures the consciousness and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. Well,
So
I would
this,
love, yeah, if you use that, I would love it. So
yeah.
please do.
Just the impact that you have on the world is, it's awesome.
Oh,
So
thank you so much.
so this fits into the writing category that we just developed, right?
Hmm.
Because then I have your
I
quote, which is
I
an
would
excerpt note, and then
I
my main note.
yeah. Oh, so you made a main note behind that about, oh yeah, about having the internal dialogue and conversation with your, you know past
Mhm.
version of yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, where what I would also do for this one is, yeah. So this would be what branch are you thinking of putting it in? Like the journal branch?
Well, yeah, I mean, we were just in arts and humanities talking about writing. And creating that well, we were talking about reading, but I was creating the categories for writing, and then I hadn't yet made a journal card.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
so
a
it,
journal. Yeah, let's create the journal branch right
for
now.
journaling.
Yeah, journaling.
All right, so then that would, let's see. Well, because you're referencing, in your note, you're referencing why to take these notes and have, an Antinet.
Mm-hmm.
My frame of reference for it, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I kept journals.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, I probably have 50 reasons why to keep journals that'll go in the course, but what happened today was this real, a more meaningful connection than just this kind of perfunctory of, oh, why to keep a journal. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I get to have this relationship,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you speak to. So you weren't even
Yeah.
saying it about journaling. You were talking about writing notes.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's the thing is I think we should create in the index after you install this in the journaling section. I think you
Mhm.
should put like, at least this is what I do in mind is the concept I call it is like internal dialogue. So
Okay,
you might
yep.
want to create a in your index internal
Sure.
dialogue, or even like I have a whole key term index for it says internal, and like I have other things like internal monologue, internal voice, internal dialogue, stuff like that. But yeah, you
Okay,
might want to create uh, and the key term that you always want to use is your own your own terms.
like how
I
I
think,
kind of reference it.
yeah, and I think the term you used was like relationship, right? Relationship with past self or something
Mhm.
like that. So you might want to
Yep.
actually instead create like a key term for R, like relationship with past self. Um,
So
yeah,
let me back up and go, okay, so with the journaling card, so I stick, it's its own category,
yeah,
different from
yeah.
creative
Let's create
writing.
that right now.
It's just under writing, so I can, and that'll probably be something I have tons of stuff under. So writing is 1310,
Mm-hmm.
and the next one is creative writing at 1315.
Mm-hmm.
So I just pick,
I would put this, yeah, I would put this at like something like 13, 18 or whatever number that you want, but it should be its own top level branch.
okay. So I could put it before those or
Yeah.
after?
Yeah, you can put them before too.
Okay, so I'm just gonna do 1311. Okay, so then this becomes 1311/1.
Yep.
Okay, and then so on here, I don't have to reference any key terms if I'm using my own word, right? Well, because you use internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just file this.
Yeah, is that
So
13?
this is
Which one is
13.
that? 1311/1. Yeah, and then you have one after that, right?
Yep, and so that's a main note. So I put all my excerpts on a blue note and then all of my
Nice.
reflections on white.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and then I would put that reflection note. Um,
Okay, and
I would
it's
I would
just,
put that, yeah, I would put that one on like 1311/1/1.
yeah, okay, like we did the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then where do I put what did you say? The words I used were relationship, um, internal relationship, I guess, would be what I would call it.
Yeah.
Where would I put that on these cards? Or do I just put
Um,
that in index and then
index.
reference the cards?
Yeah, index and reference.
All right. And that's 13. Okay.
Okay. And so you may not realize what you're doing right now, but what you are doing is going to be super powerful, because what you're doing is you're neuro-imprinting the idea, like that key term, internal relationship.
Mhm.
You're essentially creating a like neuro imprint on your mind. So when you read books now, when you're going to come across that same idea, right? Like in a
Uh,
book, right?
Yep.
Instead of having to like re-summarize that idea in your own words, you're going to instantly think back to, oh, that's internal relationship, and underline it. And that's all you're going to have to do, you know that way that way when you read books, you're just linking everything faster,
Mhm.
because you're kind of like preconditioning your mind. I think it's called priming,
I mean,
priming
yep.
priming your memory, so that to look for certain patterns, and then instantly create little on the bib cards the entries, and then you can either just reference it, like, oh, also see also, um or this was talked about on in this book on page 56, right? Or you
Mhm.
can actually create a whole reflection note, for it.
Mhm.
I do a lot, most, like, but yeah, but you don't want to get bogged down and have to do reflection notes on every single one, like, because you don't have to, unless you're actually developing it for a project and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's the one benefit of this. It's like you're doing the things the hard way. The hard way is like writing by hand, taking it, doing the deliberate way, right? But it pays off, because with digital note-taking systems, you're not actually creating an index. You're not creating a manual index. You're just being like, oh, I'm just going to dump all of my notes in this digital repository, and I
Right.
can just search anything, right? But that just decays your mind. It makes your mind lazy. What you're doing is you're changing the way your mind works right now. You're stamping in new ways of thinking, and you're going to read differently. That's what Lewin says in his notes. You begin to read differently. You read with an eye to your he called the eye to your slip box, which I call the Antinet, of course, because
Yes.
you gotta be not you gotta be unconventional. But yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Um, so yeah, let's keep going if there's other stuff, because we're good on time. I mean,
Okay, good.
I block out usually like 2 hours for these, and we're cranking. I love how we just dove right into it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. I mean, I have more cards to, both, let's see. I've
I think
got, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think I think the one thing is, we're kind of in the growth state right now, where you're building out your entire internet across different disciplinary fields, which is very
Yeah.
important in the beginning. um I think it would be good to hone in on your most, like, what is, if, or like, do you have a top project or top thing that you want to focus on first, because you've got the journaling, you've got hermetics, you've got epic romp. I
Yeah.
love that.
I
It's
mean,
awesome.
that's kind of ongoing because, because I mean, it's on pause right now while I'm here in Mexico, but, I have to create a podcast episode, every week, or I don't have to, I choose to.
Hmm.
And so that's always, and that's a whole stack of books once I get back home that I'll be able to do this whole thing, and that'll be under, that'll be under, and I was trying to think, because I found like sexology and sex education. I mean, that's some of yeah, here we go, 5120.
Hmm.
Because I pulled ones that I knew would fit. So, and that's under the, remember, social sciences? No.
Oh,
Moral
applied
sciences.
sciences or something.
Yes, that.
Yeah. Well, I think didn't we create business to use
Yes.
5100? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and that's the interesting thing too, because so I have my little cards from when I when I watched Delhi, your one with him, is that how you say his name?
yeah.
So he did the education, under the education branch, which was 5100, and he did study skills, and then
Oh
he
yeah, that's
did, and
right.
I was literally just going along with it because I have similar interest, and then summarization, and so then I did 5120 was sex education because it went right behind
Yeah. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
And I do, have stuff in, uh, like study skills and adult learning, like how to teach adults as I'm creating
Hmm.
courses. Um, so yeah, those all kind of went together. But so Epic Romp is, something that that's kind of ongoing. The current book that this other one besides the note-taking one is creating stories and the meaning of stories and how to tell your story, because I do want to create the memoir
I
and
see.
the documentary. The
Hmm.
hermetics piece is a project that's years long, and that's really like my personal spiritual study and practice, and that'll just evolve as I'm going through the videos and taking notes, and as part of my kind of, I think it'll just kind of happen along the way. So those are really hand in hand. The memoir piece, I don't know, I'm doing all of it.
Yeah. Okay.
And courses, because I
Yeah.
have a coaching business as well as, all the other things I do, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the what I was getting at is like try to give you a taste or for you probably kind of know, but how to do this, but like how to actually use it for developing, um
Mm,
your output or something like that. Like
yeah.
I think for like Epic Romp, for example, like it probably would be um useful or helpful if you do like every episode has like a theme basically, right?
It does.
Yeah, so it's like um you know instead of creating a section in your Antinet for like, oh, episode 256, just create the theme, like, this is what it's going to be about, and then start developing content around that. I think I think your episodes are already pretty good, but I think with like when you actually plan it out and write it out, by hand and create like a section of it,
Mhm.
it's just going to flow even
Even
better
more.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I'll be able to use that. I think the thing that is important too is being efficient, like using content in multiple places.
Yes,
And
exactly.
especially too, like even being able to go in and use the episodes, because I say stuff on there that I don't even know I'm going to say. I have
Hmm.
an outline, and then it goes in, all these different directions. Like the last one ended up going about mental health,
Hmm.
because there's things I'm passionate about.
Hmm.
And so, being able to go back and reference those as sources as well for my own, it's like pulling a main note card, or a reflection card from something that I said, because it's a resource too,
Hmm.
also as its output.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's what I'm excited about with this, is that now I feel really confident that I can go and read, pull a book, any book,
exactly.
but even some of my books on sex and sex therapy and, related to that specifically. And and I'm going to have just so many ideas that come out
Yep.
of it.
They're
And
going
then
to
from there,
compound.
yeah, I'll be able to just take it and run with it for an episode. I could
Hmm.
probably read a chapter and get 10 episodes out of it, which
Yep,
is
exactly.
so much more efficient
Yeah.
because I have this, and then it relates to, everything else that I'm doing. I could create a course on, all the things that I know in my world. So,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
It's going to build kind of all of your projects kind of like that, the Lumen quote at the same time. It's like
right.
it's you read one book and you read one book for hermetics, but it ends up building a ton of content for all of your other areas, as
Yeah,
well.
well,
Yeah.
exactly, which is why, like my tagline is conscious is the new sexy, because, at the end of the day, it's those things that make me who I am,
Hmm.
and that I plant little seeds all the time about how do you become a better person?
Hmm.
How do you do good in the world and create waves of good, by these little tiny things that you do. And so I'm always, tossing seeds around. So right now I feel like I've got index cards everywhere. So I feel like a true
I love it.
anti-netter
I
now.
love it. Yeah, you are for sure. Yeah, I have a feeling that you're gonna, yeah, it's gonna be the next time like we chat, or it's gonna be pretty big and robust and built out. So
Yeah.
Do you feel like I have given you all the tools? Have I answered everything? Like, is it just go time? Do you get everything now? Or like, you think you're going to be able
Yeah.
to start
Well, and
developing?
the nice thing is I'll create a bib card on this video when you post it
Yeah.
with timestamps and be able to use it as a reference to
Yeah.
help me as I go. And I'm just honoring that, it's a little slow at first, but having that courage to just do it. And then I'll be able to reference this to go back and go, okay, what was the line of thinking that we went through? If I feel like I get stuck. And then, index fatigue, I'll always remember that
Yeah.
terminology.
Awesome.
Take a break, hydrate.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
So nothing else to cover. I think we could probably should I end the recording now and we could just say bye after, and should we go from there?
sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you, Stacy. And let me
Thank
stop this
you.
recording. All right.